right, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Art Letting Go live session. So let's jump into today's email, quite some teaching around that, and that'll lead us nicely into our lesson for today, which is 256. Yes, so I'll just on my screen with you. That one. Okay, so if you can read that quote, is that big enough?
Yeah.
For you?
Yes.
Is that big enough, Elaine?
Yes. The main condition for the achievement of love is the overcoming of one's narcissism. The narcissistic orientation is one which one experiences as real only that which exists within oneself, while the phenomena in the outside world are experienced only from the viewpoint of their being useful or dangerous to one. The opposite pole to narcissism is objectivity. It is the faculty to see other people and things as they are objectively, and to be able to separate the objective picture from a picture which is formed by one's desires and fears.
Yeah, it's an interesting quote by a German social psychologist, psychoanalyst, and humanistic philosopher called Erich Fromm. He tells us what's stopping us from experiencing love. This he calls narcissism, which is really just an obsession with the special self. In psychological terms, that means selfishness, involving a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy for others, and a need for admiration. It's actually a diagnosable pathology. Narcissism is one of the pathologies in psychology that they have described, diagnosed, and so on. So the narcissist typically just cares about themselves. They're completely self-interested. They think everyone owes them, and really no empathy for others. They don't consider others' needs, and they also need admiration. So they need people to be saying, "Oh, wow, aren't you great? Aren't you amazing?" So it's clearly of the ego. It's all about the special self, the individual self, just seeking a sense of identity in this through this narcissism. So this is self-evidently a consequence of the belief in separation. We have to remember the belief in separation is our definition of the ego. Like all good teachers, it doesn't leave us in this narcissistic quagmire of the ego. It points to how we can overcome this delusion, to what he calls objective perception. Sorry, Erich Fromm, what he calls objective perception of people and things as they truly are. His language. To see other people and things as they are objectively. So the question is then, what are they really? So I suspect he was referring to so-called objective reality that our senses show us when he wrote this. But if you look at the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, it states very clearly that, you want to read that quote?
There is no reality in the absence of observation, so observation creates reality.
Yeah. So there is no reality in the absence of observation. It's quite a mind-blowing statement. And then follows that up with, so observation creates reality. Wow. So there is no independent objective reality out there. It's the act of observing. Perceiving something makes it real. That's how the illusion is constructed. And that is a quantum physical principle that they've tested, and they've proven that this holds. And there is no reality in the absence of observation. So observation just creates reality. And therefore, there really is no independent objective reality out there. It's a scientific materialist worldview based on Newtonian physics would have you believe. It doesn't exist. You can believe it does, but that doesn't mean that it really does. What you believe is then just a delusion. So the scientific materialist worldview based on Newtonian physics wants us to believe that there is some kind of objective reality that's independent of the observer. But quantum mechanics says that's not possible. The observer is integrally connected to what he or she observes. And the reason for that is because it's all a projection of the mind. So everyone's mind is actually, relative perceptual reality created by the observer based on the observer's beliefs, desires, and preferences, as he tells us clearly in this quote from the introduction to chapter 21 of the text. So if you can read that.
Yeah. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world.
Yeah, Amos, that's one of the best known lines of the course. Seek not to change the world. Don't try and change what is external, in other words. Just change your mind about the world. So he's really pointing us to the correct quadrant in the integral model, which is why I've included it in your course pack, because I refer to it quite often. Because he's pointing us to go within to the subjective I self. The self of thoughts and emotions, memories, states of mind, perceptions, immediate sensations. And so go there and you'll find true reality there. You will not find it in the objective world because it doesn't really exist in the objective world. The so-called objective world is an illusion made up by the ego minds. It's projected it on one level, and then on another it perceives that it's real. And now, this becomes a closed feedback loop. Your belief creates the reality, and then you interpret that reality from the belief. Okay, so that's what he's referring to here in the in this quote. Let's go back here. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. Yeah, so it's my own beliefs, my false beliefs, which I project out, that give the world the qualities that it has for me. This is what he's teaching. Okay, so then this is instrument for peace. So you can see the projection perception mechanism very clearly. That from a desire to be a separate self, you then project out, and that creates the sensory inputs, so-called events and circumstances that you then perceive. You project out, you perceive it as outside of you, but really that perception is an inside job. It's coming from the belief system that projected it out. So it's a closed loop. I project. On the one hand, I don't realize I'm doing that. I then see the reflections of that projection in the mirror. And then I judge them, perceive them from the same point of view. The same beliefs that projected them are the ones I use to perceive them. The belief, thought, and emotion underlie my perceptions. And it becomes a closed loop, doesn't it? And it's a vicious circle. It just keeps going around and around. And there seems to be no escape from unless you no escape unless you break that cycle, which is what this instrument for peace process is designed to do. Or any forgiveness, radical forgiveness simply says, but none of this is true. So your perception, your emotion, your thought, your belief all contribute to the perception. Okay. So let's go back here. And therefore, all you need to do to, quote, change the world is to change your perception of it, which is what Eric Fromm is alluding to in today's quote. However, rather than seeking some objective reality in the external world, which quantum physicists have shown repeatedly through numerous experiments doesn't really exist, as an alternative to the narcissism of the ego, we can look to universal truth as an objective reference point that counters and ultimately completely removes the narcissistic tendencies of the ego, my personality. So you might say, well, how does this work in practice? Well, it's the same radical forgiveness or letting go process that we've talked about. We talked about it in depth yesterday, but this is a fresh perspective on it because we get to see how radical forgiveness works from this diagram, doing the instrument for peace worksheet. So I'll put that in there. You can link to it. So there's the diagram again. You project out from a desire to be a separate self that creates various sensory perceptions, sensory data, which comes in and is perceived from a thought system. And you're caught up in the closed loop cycle, projection, perception, and you don't see the wood for the trees, which is the case with most people. They don't know what's really going on. They don't understand that everything that seems to happen here is illusion. So why are they attaching to any of it? So if you have any deep-seated issues, this can really work. This worksheet, working with this fillable PDF, so you can fill it in. You can work through it. I often guide people through it because it's just easier. Someone who's independent, sort of third party, not involved in the drama, can just walk you through it. So I'd suggest choose an issue that triggers self-absorbed, narcissistic kind of thoughts. that's definitely worth doing. Elaine, I don't know if you've ever done that instrument for peace, but it's definitely worth using, and it's very easy because it's just a little PDF. So it shows you the diagram, and then the levels of the diagram are matched to the questions.
Yeah, I'll give that another go. I did do ages ago, but I'll give it another go.
Particularly if there's something deep seated, it's it can be very, very helpful. Something deep seated, and you can learn to let go of that. So you just record what the situation is at the top level, then what you're feeling, that's your emotion, then what you're thinking. So I think that someone is to blame, and or because I'm afraid that something will happen, you lay that out. And you go through it, all 5, and then it populates the various sections for you, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I'll give it another go.
Worry. So, yeah, definitely. So all of that. So I'll give you an example. If I type in, when I think about Sally as an example, then it's going to put it in. Should put it in there. Put it in there. Oh, there we go. Thinking about Sally. So it just populates it, and then you work through this process systematically, step by step. So it's a very, systematic, progressive, step by step kind of thing, which I think when the ego is strong is necessary.
Yeah, no, I'll give that another go. I have done it ages ago, but yeah, I'll get back into it.
Yeah, the link is in the.
Yes, I have got the
link is in the email, and I do facilitate this for people. So it'll be a one-on-one session, but I've done that for a number of people, and it seems to be very helpful to just have someone walking you through it, asking the right questions, prompting. It just helps you to work through it and get more from the process, which ultimately is designed to release you. And just. So there it is. It's in the email for today. So there's a link in there. You can download it. And some other tool in your toolbox so you can use.
Yeah.
All right. So and I'd suggest pick an issue, something you wouldn't do, like, oh, someone cut me off in traffic, unless that's a repeated issue.
Yeah. No,
it's often something a bit deep.
Yeah.
Something issue you're struggling with, and you can feel that. It's like, okay, well then, work through. What I love about it is it takes you down the levels. As you go through the process, you go from perception into emotion, then into thought. And ultimately, you can undo your entire ego this way. You're recognizing the unreality of so brings us to our live session and our lesson. I think let's go straight into the lesson today. So get the lesson up. 256. There we go. Okay, let's just. All right, so if you can read that in the original and the alternative, lesson 256, kindly.
God is the only goal I have today. And perfect formless awareness of perfect love is the only goal I have today.
Yeah, pure formless awareness, which is our full name for God. So But if you state it in that way, God is the only goal I have today, I think for a lot of people it's just way too abstract. It's like, well, what does that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does God being my only goal today actually mean? And so typically they'd struggle to understand that, to live it, and then often that instruction, that'll be the last time they try and apply it. Perfect love or pure form of perfect love is the only goal. Again, making it very categoric. It's like, okay, there's not multiple goals to choose from. You're not keeping your options open. It's one singular goal, which denies all other goals. So you have to give up things in this world. Give up your goals in this world. Really is what it's saying. God is the only goal I have today. Perfect love is the only goal I have today. All right, so it sets the scene nicely. If you want to read paragraph 1 in the original and the alternative line by line, that'd be great.
The way to God is through forgiveness here. And the way to pure formless awareness of perfect love is through letting go here. There is no other way. And the same, there is no other way. If sin had not been cherished by the mind, what need would there have been to find the way to where you are? If sin had not been cherished by the mind, what need would there have been to find the way to where you already are? Who would still be uncertain? Who would still be uncertain? Who could be unsure of who he is? Who could be unsure of who they are? And who would yet remain asleep in heavy clouds of doubt about the holiness of him whom God created sinless? And who would choose to remain asleep in the heavy clouds of doubt about the pure formless awareness of the extension of perfect love extends as forever innocent? Here we can but dream. Here here I can only dream. But we can dream. We have forgiven him to whom all sins remains impossible. And it is this we choose to dream today. But I can dream I have let go of all errors in myself, in whom all sin remains impossible. And so it is this I choose to dream today. God is our goal. Forgiveness is the means by which our minds return to him at last. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is my goal, and letting go is the means by which my mind is restored to this awareness at last.
Okay. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, the only way to the pure formless awareness is just by letting go here and now, because there's no other way. Otherwise, we cherish this sin in our mind, and then we'd still be uncertain and unsure, and yeah. So the saying is, why would you want to choose being asleep in these heavy clouds of doubt when pure formless awareness is around the corner?
Yeah, exactly. It's there, it's accessible, it's available, because it's your own true awareness. Okay, so any other thoughts on that?
That's good. That's clear.
Well, that last line is good. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is my goal, and letting go is the means by which my mind is restored to this awareness at last. States the case very clearly. Got one goal, which is this transcendent awareness, which we call God or heaven, and letting go is the means by which my mind is restored to that state, that awareness. And so it doesn't matter if I'm letting go and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I'm going to know that I am. I'm going back home. Okay, so any other thoughts? Otherwise, let's go to number 2, a short prayer.
Yeah. And so, our Father, would we come to you in your appointed way? We have no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred word has pointed out to us. And so, my source, I come to you in your appointed way. I have no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred message has pointed out to me.
Oh. Thoughts on that?
Well, we can feel
what do you
assured.
feel really when you say that?
Well, you just feel assured that there is another way, a better way, and that is with the source, who will appoint you that way. And we have no goal except to hear that voice.
Yeah. On the way your sacred message is pointed to you.
Just put all our.
So he's trying to prepare us for this, the final stage of this mind training, which is surrender. It's saying, well, you're gonna let it all go, and you're gonna surrender everything to this voice. Find the way that perfect love, sacred message is pointed out, because that message is pointing us within, and to make this journey within and uncover the truth. Okay, so any other thoughts on that one? It's a nice
one,
good.
Yeah.
So this one can really focus.
Just
Because
focus
we've
on.
been talking about idolatry and other goals, so it can really help you to focus your mind. Say, well, look, this is the only goal I have today. All my other goals are really meaningless. The ego's goals are meaningless. That doesn't mean that you just drop out of society and give them all up on the level of form.
No.
You just don't value as
You
you
don't
would have.
buy it.
They're not really important to you. Well, I'll chop wood, I'll carry water, I'll still do what I need to do to live and function in this insane place. But my mind is quiet and peaceful and connected to my source.
Yes.
Therefore, this awareness of perfect love. That's my only goal, is to remain in that state, to remain for all eternity in pure formless awareness of perfect love, with no variation of that. And if you just contemplate that key message, and the alternative, pure formless awareness of perfect love, is the only goal. Is the only goal I have today. How does it make you feel? Okay, so any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, should we do a meditation on it?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's get the recording going. Get Okay, so this is a meditation on lesson 256, the workbook. Just making yourself comfortable, sitting, your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes, and you start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Raise the energy up the spine, clench the sphincter muscle. As you do that, feel like all of this lovely, tingling, warm life energy all the way up. Into the crown of your head. The super at the top, pause. It's a maximal inhale breath. And just remind yourself, scan your mind, notice any goals going on in there that are worldly goals. Honest with yourself, so you might be aiming to achieve something in the next few months. Whatever it is, just bring it to mind and remind yourself that God is the only goal I have today. Translated into alternative language, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Is the only goal I have today. Say that firmly. Aloud, exhale. Exhale, just blow it out. Dark smoke, black cloud leaving you. It's going, gone. And you rest in this pure formless awareness of perfect love. So breathing in again. I'm just going to say these words out loud. Yourself, repeat them aloud. So breathe in, I'll read them to you, and then pause, you exhale out through your nose, and you repeat them. So breathing in, pause, hold the breath, listen to these words. And the way to pure formless awareness of perfect love is through letting go here. Exhale the truth of that. Speak it aloud with purposes and conviction. Breathe in again. There is no other way. Repeat that. There is no other way. It's just being very categorical about this. If sin had not been cherished by the mind, what need would there have been to find the way to where I am already? Ponder on that. So I must have cherished sin already. who would still be uncertain with those words, who could be unsure of who they are. Breathe in again. And who would choose to remain asleep in heavy clouds of doubt about pure formless awareness? The extension, perfect love, extends as forever innocent. Who would choose to remain asleep in heavy clouds of doubt? Here I can only dream. Breathe in again as you say that. Exhale. Peace and love. Here I can only dream. Breathe in again. That I can dream. I've let go of all errors in myself in whom all sin. So I can dream. I let go of all errors in myself. In all sin remains impossible. And so is this I choose to dream today. Performance awareness of perfect love is my goal. Breathe it in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Performance awareness of perfect love is my goal. Performance awareness of perfect love is my goal. Letting go is the means by which my mind is restored to this awareness at last. So breathe in this awareness, infuse it into every pore, every cell of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. This is the means by which my mind is restored to this awareness at last, letting go of my misperceptions. Breathing again, and just scan your mind and notice any of these false thoughts, and then leads to liberation, restored to this awareness at last. Breathe in again, say, and so my source, I come to you in your pointed way, in humility. So my source, I come to you in your pointed way. Say that with determination and conviction. Right now, you're doing that. Breathe in again. And no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred message has pointed out to me. No goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred message has pointed out to me. And exhale on the truth of that. Let out. Letting it all go. Letting going gone. Let's look into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here now in this peace and stillness that the lesson points to, the gap between there's really nowhere else to go and nothing else to do, nothing else to think about, just and no goal except to hear your voice and find a way your sacred message is pointed out to me. And just give yourself over to that goal. Willingness just to listen, to be present in the moment, to listen to guidance. Breathe in and out through the nose. As you do that, just observe the breath. Let that take you deeper into your mind. Just going deeper and deeper. Deeper and deeper. Every breath, sink into the light. And just sink inwards. Observe the breath, and each breath getting calmer, more relaxed, more peaceful. The breath take you deeper and deeper with each breath to this singular, calm state of awareness. State of awareness where there's only the truth, no illusions. And thoughts come up, they distract you, just observe them, breathe in, remind yourself, I have no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred message is pointed out to me. If always and perfect love is my role. Letting go. The means by which my mind is restored to this awareness at last. And then exhale and just blow away any false thoughts, feelings, emotions, just letting it all go. And the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. All of the stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do, just breathe, relax, and be still, and surrender to this magnificent presence of perfect love within you for the next 2 minutes or so of deep contemplative silence. And so just coming back gently from this very deep state into an awareness of the body and your breath, the senses, and the world. And on the count of three, you're going to open your eyes. So one, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pause at the top of the inhale. Pull the energy up the spine. Pause at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. So noticing thoughts, emotions, related body sensations, anything that seems to be going on, and if there's anything that you're valuing falsely, any false idols, special calls them goals, worldly goals, then remind yourself of today's lesson that carefulness, awareness of perfect love is the only goal I have today. And you just exhale the truth of that. As you exhale, just let it go. Blowing it out. Letting it all go and noticing how the air flows out. Chest and the stomach sucked back in. Energy raised up. The crown of your head subsides back down. One channel of your body coming to rest in your lower stomach and your groin. Letting it all out. Letting it all go. Breathe of your breath. The nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. And you just rest at the bottom of the exhale, in this deep peace and stillness. So notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Smell in your nose. You breathe in, notice that smell. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state. State of mind without illusions, state of mind and showing the truth is true. And just anchor the state in. So noticing that you allow it to rest in your being, anchor it in, set the intention to stay here. You can use today's lesson to help you do that. If you find yourself vacillating, any kind of negativity comes in, you just say, today's key idea, pure forms to oneness of perfect love, is the only goal I have today. And that sorts out any other false idols, Shesha puts it, it's false goals in this world, and maybe causing you any kind of distress, because the thing with a false idol is that it always does cause pain and suffering and distress in the end. And so now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Take a moment to look around. So you're noticing objects in the room around you without judgment, so no attachment to any forms. You just observe in this very calm, detached way. Notice the deep peace that you felt during the meditation is still there, underlying each object. It's in fact the very foundation of your perception. Notice that that's there whether you open your eyes or close your eyes. You close your eyes briefly as you look at something, and it's there irrespective of what object you perceive. So look at a few objects just for a few seconds and notice this deep peace, whether it's there whether you close your eyes or open your eyes. And you just allow that deep peace and stillness to permeate into your being, anchoring yourself in that state for the rest of the evening. So just say it so it's done. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation and of this part of tonight's session. So let's jump into our we'll look at our workbook lesson for today, which is text reading for today, which is section 7 of chapter 30, called the New Interpretation. Okay, so Elaine, if you want to read that in the original and the alternative, line by line, that just gives me a chance to edit it as you reading the original. Thanks.
Would God have left the meaning of the world to your interpretation? Would pure formless awareness of perfect love have left the meaning of the world to my interpretation? If he had, it has no meaning. And the same.
If it had.
Oh,
Not he. If it had, it has no
yeah.
meaning. Yeah. So just
if it
read it out because normally.
Yeah, okay. If it had, it has no meaning. For it cannot be that meaning changes constantly and yet is true. For it cannot be that meaning changes constantly and yet it is true. The Holy Spirit looks upon the world as with one purpose, changelessly established. The remembrance of perfect love looks upon the world with one purpose, changelessly established.
Yeah.
And no situation can affect its aim, but must be in accord with it. And no situation can affect its aim, only must be in accord with it.
Yeah, that just needs some work. So instead of no, we'll say every. No situation can affect its aim, but must be in accord with. No situation can affect its aim, but oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll keep it. Yeah. There's John.
Oh, good
Timing is excellent as always.
Yeah.
Mm. How are you, John?
Hi, John.
You're saying your time.
Hi, Elaine. Hi, John.
Timing is
Yeah,
excellent.
perfect timing, John.
Just started the
Very good.
text. We just started the text, so
Just literally.
yeah, all good. So this is section 7 of chapter 30, word 1, called the new interpretation. We've just started. So Elena, just read those first 2 lines if you don't mind. And start
Sorry, which
again.
in the alternative, yeah?
Just from the top. Just from the top, yeah.
Yeah. Would pure formless awareness of perfect love have left the meaning of the world to my interpretation? If it had, it has no meaning, or it cannot be that meaning changes constantly and still is true. The remembrance of perfect love looks upon the world with one purpose, changelessly established, and no situation can affect its aim, but must be in accord with it.
So I'm saying its aim is not affected by anything in the world. Yeah, then original and then alternative for only if its aim could change.
But only if its aim could change with every situation could each one be open to interpretation, which is different every time you think of it. And for only if its aim could change with every situation could each one be open to interpretation, which is different every time I think of it. You add an element into the
Yeah, so it's interesting what he says there, because if you're honest about it, think about situations that you have in your own life, and you can think of it one time, and you can go, okay, I perceive it that way. Half an hour later, you can think of it again, and you can perceive it differently. It happens quite often, doesn't it?
Yes.
Different interpretation. Like, well, I was really angry half an hour ago. Now I'm not quite so angry, and then in an hour's time, I might feel a new wave of resentment, and so it goes. You can have, every time you think of the situation, your interpretation changes.
Yeah.
So how can that be real? Only if its
Yeah.
aim could change with every situation. Each one be open to an interpretation which is different every time I think of it. So that's the ego's world. The ego is telling you, there's no stable base for perception. It's very variable. It's very changeable, and very uncertain. At any moment, you can change your mind. And what is the stable? What is the stability? What is the stable goal that ties it all together? The ego doesn't have one. So you try and find certainty in that thought system, but you can't, because there is no stable goal. And so it's very variable, vacillating all the time, continuously changing, and it's therefore very disconcerting. It doesn't lend itself to happiness and peace. So that's really what he's saying in that one. Okay, so number 7, you add an element into the script you write.
You add an element into the script you write for every minute in the day, and all that happens now means something else. I add an element into the script I write for every minute in the day, and all that happens now means something else. You take away another element and every meaning shifts accordingly. I take away another element and every meaning shifts accordingly.
I'll just read that from the top. Let's make sure that the translation correct, and give a quick summary of it.
Would pure formless awareness of perfect love have left the meaning of the world to my interpretation? If it had, it has no meaning, or it cannot be that meaning changes constantly and still is true. Remembrance of perfect love perceives the world with one purpose, changelessly established, and no situation can affect its aim, but must be in accord with it. For only if its aim could change with every situation could each one be open to an interpretation which is different every time I think of it. I add an element into the script I write for every minute in the day, and all that happens now means something else. I take away another element, and every meaning shifts accordingly. Right.
Okay, so what's he saying in that one?
Well, while you're in the ego thought system, there's instability. It just changes the minute. It's similar, same situation can be thought differently. So why would we stay in this unstable, unreal, no meaning? Why would we stay in it when there's pure formless awareness, where there's changelessly, where it just never changes, it's established, it's secure, tells the truth.
Yeah. So that's the foundation, which you can, the rock, as Yeshua called it, on which you can build the house of your life. What is changeless, what is solid, that doesn't shift and change. And of course, in his parable, the sands represent the unstable illusion, that the sands, can be moved and shift and change all the time. And if your foundation of your life is built on that, then you're not going to find the security, the happiness, peace that the true foundation, the rock of truth gives you. So just highlighting that in this passage and saying, well, could any of this really be real? Can meaning change constantly and still be true? How could that be the case? So again, teaching us that truth is changeless, and untruth, falsehood, is changeable. Those are essentially that's essentially the distinction between truth and illusion. The truth doesn't change, never has changed, never will change. It remains eternally the same, and the illusion is changeable moment by moment. At any point, the illusion can change. Our perception of it can change. Everything can change in a moment. That's why it's not true. Because how can something so changeable be true? Okay. So yeah, any questions on that? John, you good with that one?
Good with that one, yeah.
Okay, if you can do the honors for paragraph 2. Again, just read it in the original and then the alternative sentence by sentence, please.
What do your scripts reflect except your plans for what the day should be? What do my scripts reflect except my plans for what the day should be? And thus you judge disaster and success, advance, retreat, and gain and loss. And thus I judge disaster and success, advance, retreat, and gain and loss.
Some of the hands there.
These judgments are all made according to the roles the script assigns. These judgments are all made according to the roles the script assigns. The fact they have no meaning in themselves is demonstrated by the ease with which these labels change with other judgments made on different aspects of experience. The fact they have no meaning in themselves is demonstrated by the ease with which these labels change with other judgments made on different aspects of experience. And then in looking back, you think you see another meaning in what went before. And then in looking back, I think I perceive another meaning in what went before. What have you done? What have you really done except to show there was no meaning here? But what have I really done except to show there was no meaning there? But you assigned a meaning in the light of goals that change, with every meaning shifting as they change. But I assigned a meaning in the awareness of goals that change, with every meaning shifting as they change.
Oh. Okay, just read it from the top. In your mind, in the alternative, just make sure we got that correct.
And what do my scripts reflect except my plans for what my day should be? And so I judge disaster, success, advance, retreat, gain, and loss. These judgments are all made according to the roles the script assigns. The fact they have no meaning in themselves is demonstrated by the ease with which these labels change with other judgments made on different aspects of experience. And then in looking back, I think I perceive another meaning in what went before. But what have I really done except to show there was no meaning there? But I assigned a meaning in the awareness of goals that change, with every meaning shifting as they change.
Yes, so what's he saying there?
Well,
Summary.
It's saying that our perception, our view of the world, the illusion, constantly changes as the day goes on and according to what's happening, and therefore we are not perceiving any real meaning at all. We're just seeing different viewpoints.
Yeah. And how can that be meaningful? How can meaning come from such shifting, changing perception? That's what he's saying. So I assign a meaning, I make it all up, and I think that the meaning that I've given things is the meaning they really have. That's the whole delusion, isn't it? Which is why in the first sort of 15 lessons of the course workbook, he targets meaning. Most of those are about meaning. Saying, well, that's the key. The meaning that you give things is the key to maintaining your self-concept in the illusion. Because you assign a meaning that is false, that gives your self-concept some reality, and so you live in this, illusory world, an illusory self, creating a meaning that doesn't exist. It's all made up. that shifts and changes, and we cling for some kind of certainty in the illusion, always, seeking to make the meaningless meaningful. That's what the ego is always trying to do. Make what is temporary and shifting and changing, make that into something that is permanent and real. And of course, it fails every time. It's never going to do that. Because only the eternal, that is permanent, can do that. So the only way that the ego could ever attain that meaning, true meaning, and the permanent meaning that it seeks, is to let itself go, which is its dilemma. See? So like, it doesn't want to let go, although it seeks that, it can't accept that which it yearns for. So then it must compromise and try and find meaning in its illusions, which is what the world is designed to do, to try and create a meaning where there is no meaning, and it tempts us constantly to assign temporary meanings to everything we perceive, as a way of defending the ego. Does that all make sense?
There was something you just said there, John, though, that didn't gel quite well, to do with, and the ego wants that. But maybe I just kind of didn't quite get the text of it, because I think
the ego wants.
I mean, why? I mean, the ego wants to constantly create different views, different perceptions, so as to keep itself going, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
It doesn't want release.
It does. On some level, it does. You see, the ego.
Okay.
Which is why we can all be ultimately released, because on some level, it can't stand itself. It loathes itself. It hates itself. It can't bear the suffering.
Okay. Yeah.
And it wants release on a level, a deeper level than most people go to. But that's the reason why we can heal, because at some point we go, enough. Like I'm just tired of this. I can't deal with this endless misery and suffering that I'm experiencing, and I want salvation. I want release from this. So it does, but it has huge resistance to that, because of course it's undoing. If it accepts the release, then it has to accept its non-existence, which it doesn't want to do, because then it has no existence at all. And it perceives that as death. So, for the ego, release is then equated with non-existence and death. And he actually says at some point, death is a compromised solution of the ego. So then what do? We seemingly kill ourselves to try and get some release. So you kill the body, and we're all doing that, quickly or slowly, one way or another. And then, the ego says, well, that's release, but it isn't. The release only comes when you've changed your mind. Just dying in a body doesn't release you at all. The mind can still be very much enslaved to its illusions, which of course will mean you come back and have another body and another life.
So the ego does have. So on a deep level, the ego does have a desire to heal.
Yeah, because it knows that it's not real, and it wants to return to source. That's the deepest level of the ego, that looks upon itself and goes, this is just a waste of time. There's actually no point to this. And of course, the moment it does that and accepts that, then it's not the ego anymore, it's the Holy Spirit. Then its thought system is just flick-flacked and done a 180-degree turnaround. Now you're in the Holy Spirit. And so, the fact that we can't transform, we can't do that, is a testament that, yes, on some level, the ego can't stand itself, and it does want release. And maybe it just, you have to get to such an extreme situation, some people anyway, such extreme suffering that, they just can't stand it anymore. Eckhart Tolle, a good example of that. He's 29, and he just, his mind had been running his life for 29 years. And he just went one night, I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand myself anymore. You know, I want out. I want to end it. He was suicidal. I just can't bear this. And so, but in that realization was his awakening. It's like, well, I can't stand myself. Well, who can't stand who then? That's what came to. And he realized that there must be two selves in that moment. And maybe one of them was real and another one wasn't. And he kind of got it, you know, woke up in that instant of like, okay, I kind of understand there's been a false self, and I can kind of detach from that and see that it's not real. And he said, it's difficult to put into words what happened, but, you know, that was sort of spiritually what was happening. And, you know, the energy was so intense that he just passed out. It was like he said, describes it as being sucked inward to a vortex of energy and just passed out. He was lying in his bed, so it didn't really matter. Went to sleep and woke up the next morning, and it's like the ego dropped away because it had suffered enough, and it was like, you know, cracked open that hard shell to release the spirit. But it, you know, needed extreme suffering. He was ready to commit suicide. He said, I was, you know, enough. I was like, I can't stand it anymore. So, you know, that's one way. That's the way of the cross, that people can wake up. The other way is just going, well, I can't really, I don't really want this kind of low grade suffering that the ego causes, you know, because the ego just kind of, it's a river of misery running through your life. And so maybe a better way to say, I don't have to suffer that intensely. It's just like, I'm tired of any suffering, just kind of dissatisfaction, this low grade river of misery. You know, toxic waste really running through my life. I want out of that. I want to be done with that. And then you start, you know, choosing to correct your mind using teaching like A Course in Miracles, and really letting go of those toxic thoughts and emotions as they arise. And then systematically and progressively you start correcting it. So you don't necessarily need the major pain that people like Eckhart and Byron Katie and others have had to go through. You sort of progressively and systematically, by choice, awaken. And that's what Yeshua is laying out for us in this course. He's saying that's what you can do. If you're willing, you follow me, you know, I'll show you the way out by just progressively and systematically learning these lessons, you know, just chipping away at things. So rather than, you know, go for like a major, right, it's going to be a, you know, huge awakening. It's more like I'm just chipping away at it systematically and progressively every day. It's a much, you know, better strategy, more reliable strategy, isn't it, than waiting for some major awakening to happen and kind of relying on circumstances to give you that awakening. Okay, so is that clear? Is that
Yeah,
kind of,
very good. Yeah.
clear that up? Okay, so yeah, anything else on that? Did you summarize it? I can't remember. So any thoughts on that? Paragraph 2, John?
I did summarize it. Yeah. I think we've talked about that one. It's good. Yeah.
And my scripts. So you know, the self-concept creates a script and constantly shifts and changes its mind and its script, and that's why you can never find genuine happiness, because it's so shifting and changing. It's building your house on the sand, as Yeshua put it. There's nothing solid or sustainable about the ego's thought system at all. Okay, so number 3, Elaine, if you can read that one in the original and the alternative, please.
Only a constant purpose can endow events with stable meaning. Only a constant purpose can endow events with stable meaning. But it must accord one meaning to them all. But it must accord one meaning to them all. If they are given different meanings, it must be that they reflect but different purposes. If they are given different meanings, it must be that they reflect only different purposes. And this is all the meaning that they have. And this is all the meaning they have. Can this be meaning? Can this be meaning? Can confusion be what meaning means? Can confusion be what meaning means? Perception cannot be in constant flux and make allowances for stability of meaning anywhere. Can confusion be what, perception cannot be in constant flux and make allowance for stability of meaning anywhere. Fear is a judgment never justified. Fear is a judgment never justified. Its presence has no meaning but to show you wrote a fearful script. Fear is a judgment never justified. Its presence has no meaning but to show you wrote a fearful script and are afraid accordingly. Its presence has no meaning except to show I wrote a fearful script. I'm afraid accordingly. Fear is a judgment. Oh, where am I going here? Here we go. Only not because the thing I fear has faithful meaning in itself.
Okay, so read it from the top in the alternative, please.
Only,
Summary.
yeah, only a constant purpose can give events with stable meaning, but it must give one meaning to them all. If they are given different meanings, they must reflect only different purposes. And this is all the meaning that they have. Can this be meaning? Can confusion be what meaning means? Perception cannot be in constant flux and make allowance for stability of meaning anywhere. Fear is a
Maybe we should
judgment.
change that. Just pause on it. Maybe. What about and provide? I love that. Is that clearer?
Perception cannot be in constant flux and provide stability of meaning anywhere. Yeah. Fear is a judgment never
Provide
justified.
any stability of meaning, maybe.
Right. Perception cannot be in constant flux and provide any stability of meaning. Fear is judgment never justified. Its presence has no meaning except to show I wrote a fearful script and I'm accordingly afraid, but not because the thing I fear was fearful, meaning in itself.
Yeah, so what's he saying? Next one.
Yeah, well, it's about the perception cannot be in constant flux because it's not stable. And fear is just not justified because we're the ones who wrote this script. And so if we've wrote it, we'll get the consequences accordingly.
Yeah.
But not because the thing I fear has fearful meaning in itself. So yeah, it's all just a fallacy. It's all false. We're just making our own script from our perceptions, which are most of the time unstable and inaccurate.
Yeah, which are wrong. He says very clearly, but your perceptions are wrong.
Yeah.
Straightforward. You're in the ego, your perceptions are wrong.
Yeah.
So you've made up this whole story, the script of your life, and various perceptions that seem to be justified by the story, and all of it's false, all of it's wrong, and you're living in a dream world because of that, a false reality that can never make you happy because it's false. It's all invented and made up and has no foundation in true reality. So whatever I fear has no meaning in itself. It's just that I've given it the meaning that it seems to have for me, as I've given everything else the meaning that it has for me, which is why he starts off the workbook with nothing I see means anything, because that just cuts through all of it, doesn't it? Nothing I see, you could extend that to nothing I perceive means anything. And was nothing in perception, nothing in my perception, nothing that I can perceive in this world means anything. It's a pretty all-encompassing statement, which is designed to free your mind into the awareness of pure formless awareness of perfect love, and away from all the temporary meanings that it's invented, and constantly seeks to find a meaning. If you think about what most people are dedicating their lives to, everyone seeks a meaning in some way, don't they?
Yeah.
Viktor Frankl said, actually, his theory of psychology, the mind, was that meaning is the most powerful driver. The search for meaning is the most powerful driver, and I agree with him. But most people seek for meaning in the ego's thought system. So they seek for meaning in what's illusory and temporary, and they never find it. And so they always dissatisfied because they're looking for meaning where there is no meaning. You can only find meaning in the eternal, which is what Yeshua is directing us to, saying, give all your heart, soul, and mind to God. It means stay rooted in this pure formless awareness of perfect love, no matter what seems to happen in this world. And then you will have the true meaning of your life, and then you will have certainty and a solid foundation for your continued perception. You're not just going to disappear, but your perception is now coming from a corrected base, corrected foundation, the ground of being, which is true. And you're not just making up all these illusions and then suffering because of it, fearing them, doubting them, worrying about them, stressing about them, attacking them, and so on. You actually see the underlying truth in everyone and everything. And then everything and everyone has true meaning for you. So, we talked about your friend Sally. She's just perceiving the meaninglessness of the ego's thought system, and then it seems to be, despair. But once you realize fully that it is meaningless, then you open your mind to a deeper meaning, the true meaning that underlies it. And so maybe this is exactly what she needs to go to start awakening to that true meaning, which she's denied her whole life. That if you see that the ego's meaning is all false, then, and yes, probably initially you're going to feel depressed, apathetic, go, what's the point? But if you can journey through that and you come out the other side, you realize, well, actually, it was all false to start with. It was always false. I've just realized it now. And there's something else. There's something deeper. There is a deeper meaning and a deeper truth that has been obscured my whole life. And I can actually, given that I'm now willing to, I can see that the ego is false, I can open my mind to that deeper truth. And that's really when the spiritual journey of awakening starts in earnest. So this might be exactly what she needs to awaken to that.
Yeah.
No.
You never
But
know.
often the ego deconstructing, and you see the meaninglessness of it. It can be very traumatic. So, well, I valued this. I thought it was real and meaningful. meaningful, and now I'm being shown that it's all meaningless and pointless. And I thought this was reality, and now I feel bereft. It's like, well, how am I going to cope? Because my whole foundation, the rug's been pulled out from under me, and I've got nothing as yet to replace it. So the beauty of doing it in this systematic, progressive way with Yeshua is he never leaves you there. It's like, okay, slowly we're going to pull the rug out from under your ego's thought system. But as we do that, we're going to replace it with the truth. And so true meaning is always replacing the false meaning. And he does that continuously. He never just leaves you and says, well, it's all, terrible and it's an illusion and it's despair. He always gives you the alternative and says, well, actually you can experience, happiness and peace and love and joy eternally, instead of, this river of misery running through your life that the ego has created. If you will just accept that, none of it is true. So that's a journey she's got to go through, and you can just be the shining example of someone who has corrected their mind and is finding meaning and purpose in her life because of these teachings, and is able to then operate quite functionally, practically, but be happy and peaceful, not depressed and suicidal. And so you become an example of a thought system that is truly meaningful for her. Okay, so happy was number 3. Should we move to number 4 then? Quite a short section tonight. It's 7 paragraphs, so we've got another 4 to go. John, if you can read that in the original, the alternative, please.
A common purpose is the only means whereby perception can be stabilized, and one interpretation given to the world and all experiences here. A common purpose is the only means whereby perception can be stabilized, and one interpretation given to the world and all experiences here. In this shared purpose is one judgment shared by everyone and everything you see. In this shared purpose is one judgment shared by everyone and everything I see. You do not have to judge, for you have learned one meaning has been given everything, and you are glad to see it everywhere. I do not have to judge, for I have learned one meaning has been given everything, and I am glad to see it everywhere. It cannot change because you would perceive it everywhere, unchanged by circumstance. It cannot change because I would perceive it everywhere, unchanged by circumstance. And so you offer it to all events, and let them offer you stability. And so I offer it to all events, and let them offer me stability.
So from the top, if you don't mind.
A common purpose is the only means whereby perception can be stabilized and one interpretation of the world and all experiences have made. And all experiences here made. In this shared purpose is one judgment shared by everyone and everything I perceive. I do not have to judge, for I have learned one meaning has been given to everything, and I am glad to perceive it everywhere. It cannot change because I want to perceive it everywhere, unchanged by circumstances. And so I offer it to all events, and let them offer me stability. I think he's saying here that only when we accept the oneness of everything can we start to see the world in a meaningful way, because otherwise we are looking at a partial situation.
Yeah. One judgment, one meaning, one interpretation. So it must, if only oneness is true, then that's where our perception must go to. One interpretation, one meaning for all perception, which is what the Holy Spirit trains us to do, systematically and progressively. Let go of all of our false meanings and accept the one true meaning, which is only love is real, always, and everything else is false. That's all it's teaching us. But we have to do that over and over, and systematically correct all of our illusions in order to awaken. There's lots of false meanings. The ego's woven its entire existence out of false thoughts, false meanings, false beliefs. And now you have to bring them to the judgment of the Holy Spirit and release them. I do not have to judge. So it's not about you, your little self judging. For I have learned one meaning has been given to everything, and I am glad to perceive it everywhere. And that meaning is the right-minded judgment of the Holy Spirit that says everything is actually just love, and anything else is meaningless, and therefore can be let go of. And that's the only judgment the Holy Spirit ever makes. It doesn't judge, the seemingly different meanings the ego has invented as real and get into all of those complications. It just says it's all unreal and reminds you of that constantly, so that what underlies the unreality of changing perception is the truth that is real. And then I perceive it everywhere because I want to perceive it everywhere. I want the stability of the this thought system. I realize that my thought system is a mess. It offers me no stability whatsoever. I would like to have a thought system that is stable, that is unchanged by circumstances. So I offer it to all events and let them offer me stability. So how about instead of I offer it to all events, so I perceive all events. With the truth in mind, that's what he's saying. And let them offer me stability. So even in the shifting, changing illusions, I can still find stability if I let them go. Well, the truth is still the same as it was. I've let this go, and I rest in my eternal being. And I just reminded myself that that's the case again. So forgiveness just reiterates in your mind that only the truth is true, and then you get to experience that truth rather than the illusion. So it's a very simple process what he's asking us to do, but it's radical because it's going against everything we've learned up to this point, and all of our false perceptions must be undone. Okay.
Yeah, I was just listening before this earlier today, actually, to a podcast with Melvin Bragg about the Spanish Inquisition, and the Spanish takeover of South America, and in the 1550s there was lots of discussion in Spain around whether the South American Indians were fully human beings or not. And there was these discussions went on for years.
Yeah.
And of course, in the backdrop is, but actually it was interesting because you had this faction that wanted to keep them as slaves, therefore justified slavery by saying they're
not fully human.
Yeah. And then you had quite interestingly this Christian belief that, we had to convert them, to save their soul. The Spanish were there to save their souls. So by definition, they were acknowledging they had a soul and therefore were human beings. So you had this kind of debate going on. And
dichotomy of beliefs. Both beliefs slightly deluded, quite deluded to say the least. Saving your soul is better, but still the arrogance of it is like, we've got to save your soul. How do you know they're not in a higher state than you are? They lived in relative peace and harmony, compared with the Spanish just conquering, and so it was a very high, quite a high civilization, a lot of awareness. The Mayans, etc. They had some deep wisdom that went way beyond the traditional formal Catholic religion that the Spanish believed in. So the arrogance of it is like, we're here to save your soul. Well, maybe no, actually they could teach you something. You could learn from them, but the Europeans weren't really open to that, were they? Not many of them. It's going, oh, well, we can actually learn from the natives. They were like, no, our way is right. We've got to convert you to our way. And if you don't convert, then you'll die. Not much choice, is there? Become a Christian or you die. So okay, I'll become a Christian. Which is it's quite an effective conversion strategy. It's like, okay, suddenly you're getting mass conversions because everyone just doesn't want to be killed.
Really simple.
So your point related to this was, how did you relate it to this text?
Oh, well, just if it's just if they could have started from a place of oneness, none of that discussion would have happened. And the whole
it just cuts through. This idea of oneness cuts through everything else, doesn't it? It's like, well, yes, we all have the same source, we all have the same mind, the same awareness, and all differences are illusory. Whether you seem to be a so-called Indian or a Spanish conquistador or whoever, you have the same source. So even the idea of a soul, which is really just a proxy for a mind, oneness just obliterates that. It says there isn't really an individual soul, isn't an individual mind. That's illusory. There is only one awareness, which everyone shares. Otherwise, they would have no life. And that awareness, is the supreme. That's the supreme being, God, which underlies everyone and everything. But there weren't many people at that time who understood that. You got the occasional mystic, like people like Meister Eckhart, and there were some Saint Teresa of Avila and so on. So there were, it was in pockets. You'd get a mystic who would get it, but by and large, the majority had no idea that of that principle of oneness. And because it rocks your entire world, doesn't it? I mean, the Spanish, seemingly, because they believed they were superior, they had some divine right to go and conquer and treat the Indians however they wanted. That was the thought system. Whereas oneness, just, well, okay, you have to change everything. Like, oneness means you don't have the right to go and conquer anyone. You have to treat everyone with love and respect. Okay, well, why are we even in South America then? Why are we even trying to conquer these people? You know what I mean? Why are we trying to steal their gold and their resources? And everything would just change, wouldn't it? The whole equation has to fundamentally shift if you accept oneness as your premise, which is why the mind's very resistant to it. But how different history would have been if people actually did accept the principle of oneness.
Yes.
Would have been vastly different. All of that. So instead of seeking to conquer, it would have been, well, let's go and make friends with these people. We want to be friends. We want to unify with them. We don't want to dominate them. We want to, have harmonious relationships. We come in peace. We seek, peace. We want to trade with you. Very, very, very different history would have unfolded. All the atrocities of the colonial era would not have happened. So it would have been, we just come in peace, and we want oneness, we want harmony. We're not trying to take anything from you. We just seek to unite with you, and how can we help you? How can we serve you? Very different history would have unfolded if everyone had shared that idea. But so that's because it's the ego's world, that doesn't happen in this world. So we get all the Pandora's box of the ego, which shows us the nightmare of the ego's thought system. That is the advantage of it. It's like, well, you can then see very clearly in history, look, this is what the ego is, this is what it does. It repeats it over and over and over again. What are you not getting? What are you not understanding? We just have another war now in Israel. It's like, what are you not getting? It's the same. It's never changed. So perhaps you should just give it up and be willing to let go entirely, as you're suggesting, and free your mind from the entire illusion, because it's never really going to change. History just repeats itself over and over and over again, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
And until you learn from that and go, well, what can I learn from this? Okay, it's the same script over and over, the same repetitive river of misery running through the human condition and experience. And I want out. I don't want that. I don't want to experience that anymore. So I'm willing to listen to a spiritual master like Yeshua, who's escaped from that miserable reality we call human condition, human life, and this world, and listen to him, because he's trying to help me to escape from all of this pain and suffering. Okay, so happy to move to number 5 then. Elaine, if you can read that one in the original and the alternative.
Yeah. Escape from judgment simply lies in this: all things have only one purpose, which I share with all the world. Oh, yeah. And nothing in the world can be opposed to it, for it belongs to everything, and it belongs to me. In single purpose is the end of all ideas of sacrifice, which must assume a different purpose for the one who gains and companion who loses. This could be no thought of sacrifice.
If you can read this in the original as well, Elaine, just give me a chance to get it. Read number 4 in the original. Now just pause.
There could be
catch up. The end of all ideas of sacrifice lies in is end of all ideas of sacrifice is single purpose. Must assume a different purpose for the one who gains and companion who loses. Okay, so what's it say? Single purpose at the end of all ideas, which must assume a different purpose for the one who gains and him who loses. Yeah. Single purpose, which must assume a different purpose, which must change, maybe, which must change the one who gains and the companion who loses. So as soon as we go away from single purpose, then we're into differences. That's what you're saying. Must change for the one who gains and their companion who loses. So that purpose changes, which is why you can't compromise on this. As soon as you change the purpose, everything changes. It's a complete 180-degree turnaround. Okay, so there could be no thought of sacrifice apart from this idea.
There could be no thought of
Shall we say no thought of sacrifice?
there can be no thought of sacrifice apart from this idea. And it is this idea of different goals that makes perception shift and meaning change. In one united goal, does this become impossible? For my agreement makes interpretation stabilize and last.
Yes, I'll say this becomes impossible in one united goal. For my agreement makes interpretation stabilize and last. Your agreement makes interpretation stabilize and last. Yeah, so your agreement to the one. My acceptance really, it's impossible one united goal. For my acceptance of this goal makes interpretation stabilize and last. It's very synchronistic actually, because this section is very much echoing what the lesson is saying, isn't it? Only God is my only goal. So with that one goal, it unites your perception around that. One that, single purpose, single meaning. Okay, so if we can read that, number 5 from the top.
Mm-hmm. Escape from judgment simply lies in this. All things have only one purpose, which I share with all the world, and nothing in the world can be opposed to it, for it belongs to everything as it belongs to me. The end of all ideas of sacrifice is a single purpose, which must change for the one who gains and their companion who loses. There can be no thought of sacrifice apart from this idea. And it is this idea of different goals that makes perception shift and meaning change. This becomes impossible in one united goal, for my acceptance of this goal makes interpretation stabilize and last.
Okay, so saying in that one.
When we lose our judgments, then we'll have one purpose that we share with all the world. Because we are all one, and what belongs to everything also belongs to me. So we can end all these ideas. Yeah. So the idea of different goals that makes perception meaning change. So just accept this goal, this one goal, makes everything peaceful and secure, and we feel
I think a key point is that it stabilizes your perception of everything. stabilize your interpretation of everything. So now instead of vacillating and being all over the place, you have one consistent interpretation and one consistent meaning that you give to everything, which is the rock that Yeshua, in the parable said, you build your house on the rock rather than on the sand. So you can then perceive correctly whatever seems to be happening. Yeah, undisturbed by any of the shifting, changing circumstances in time and space, because you know that there is this permanent, eternal ground of being that's within you that you can call upon to reinterpret anything that the ego shows you, and just remind yourself that this isn't true. Whatever you perceive that is not pure formless awareness of perfect love is simply not true. That's the Holy Spirit's correction and reinterpretation, and that brings a stable meaning and perception to all of your perceptions here. But none of it's true. That's the Holy Spirit's only right-minded judgments of the world. This is not true. Okay, and that applies across the board. It doesn't matter what you think you're perceiving, what you're experiencing, it's still not true. And so we're having to train our minds using this mind training process to accept that and apply that all the time, not make exceptions, which we do frequently. But when you make an exception and you suffer accordingly, then the letting go is the correction of that. So I'm not going to make an exception. I'm going to let this go. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the 5?
Yeah, that's
You
clear.
okay with that, John?
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So number 6, a long one. So yeah, if you can read that one in the original, the alternative, John. Thanks.
How can communication really be established while the symbols that are used mean different things? How can communication really be established while the symbols that are used mean different things? The Holy Spirit's goal gives one interpretation, meaningful to you and to your brother. The remembrance of perfect love's goal gives one interpretation, meaningful to me and to my companions. Thus can you communicate with him and he with you. Thus can I communicate with my companion and my companion with me.
Yeah, just pause there. Let's fix this. Thus can you communicate with him and he with you. So in this way, I can communicate with my companions and companions of me.
Symbols that you both can understand, the sacrifice of meaning is undone. And symbols that
say the sacrifice of
meaning. The sacrifice of meaning is
undone.
undone in symbols that we both can understand.
Yeah. Maybe you should say the loss of meaning is undone. Symbols that we can both understand. Or the loss of meaning is prevented through symbols that we can both understand.
Very good, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All sacrifice entails the loss of your ability to see relationships among events. All sacrifice entails the loss of my ability to see relationships among events. And looked at separately, they have no meaning. And looked at separately, they have no meaning. Well, there is no
relationships among events. Should we say the interconnected nature? That better. Interconnected nature.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And looked at separately, they have no meaning. And perceived separately, they have no meaning. For there is no light by which they can be seen and understood. For there is no pure formless awareness by which they can be perceived and understood.
So no true awareness, shall we?
Yeah, yeah.
True awareness, by which they can be perceived,
They can be
understood.
They have no purpose. They have no purpose. And what they are for cannot be seen.
So I cannot perceive. Let's make it active, shall we? I cannot perceive what they are for.
In any thought of loss, there is no meaning.
Now, there is no meaning in any thought of loss.
No one has agreed with me on what it means. It is a part of a distorted script. It cannot be interpreted with meaning. It must be forever unintelligible. This is not communication. My limited awareness dreams are only the senseless, isolated scripts I write in sleep.
Well, so the original is your dark dreams. So
Okay.
my limited dreams are only the senseless, isolated scripts I write in sleep.
Look not to separate dreams from meaning. I will not look to separate dreams from meaning.
I will not look, just what he means is, I will not look. I will not look to separate dreams. I will not look for meaning. I think that's just better, more understandable. Look, I will not look for meaning in separate dreams. That's what he means.
Yeah. Only dreams of letting go can be shared. I can only share dreams of letting go, or they mean the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Any dreams of letting go can be shared. They mean the same to both of us. They mean the same to maybe everyone would be better than both of us.
Yeah.
They mean the same to everyone. Yeah, so maybe dreams, forgiving dreams, only dreams of pardon. Okay, so we want to change the original was pardon. Can we keep pardon, or
Dreams of
only dreams in which I let go? I think that's maybe a better way of saying it. Only dreams in which we let go can be shared. Yeah, so otherwise we have a different meanings, don't we? We assign different meanings, different purposes. And of course, that's the source of all conflict in the world. I've given it a different meaning from you. We disagree. The only way out of that is to say, well, actually, the only meaning is that it's meaningless. So we need to let it go, both of us, and look beyond it to the one true meaning, which then is the same. They mean the same to everyone. So, this thought system says, actually, it's all the same. You're in an illusion. So the only way out is to let go and find the underlying truth, which is the same for everyone. The truth is not different for different people, as it's one of the ego's laws of chaos, if you recall. But the truth is different for everyone. If it's a truth, it must be the same for everyone. So therefore, what letting go reveals must be the same to everyone, because letting go reveals the truth. Okay, so if you can read that in the original alternative again from the top, with a quick summary.
How can communication really be established while the symbols that I use mean different things? The remembrance of perfect love's goal gives one interpretation, meaningful to me and my companions. In this way, I can communicate with my companions and my companions with me. Loss of meaning is prevented through symbols that we can both understand. All sacrifice entails the loss of my ability to perceive the interconnected nature of events. And perceived separately, they have no meaning. For there is no true awareness by which they can be perceived and understood. They have no purpose, and I cannot perceive what they are for. There is no meaning in any thought of loss. No one has agreed with me on what it means. It is part of a distorted script that cannot be interpreted with meaning. It must be forever unintelligible. This is not communication. My limited dreams are only the senseless, isolated scripts I write in sleep. I will not look for meaning in separate dreams. Only dreams in which we let go can be shared. They mean the same to everyone.
So what's he saying this one in a nutshell?
Well, it's saying again that separate views and separate perceptions take us nowhere and just lead us down a blind alley, and there is no meaning because if they're all different, then there's no meaning in any of them. There's no shared awareness. Communication isn't really fully there, and I will never find the answer through egoic perception.
Yeah, I think key point is one shared meaning. So one idea of letting go creates a shared meaning and a shared purpose. And well, if the world is really illusion, my only job here is to let it go, then I have the same purpose as you. So we're united in that purpose, and we have the same fundamental identity and reality, which this letting go will reveal. So then we're going, same foundation for our perception, going in the same direction with the same goal. Then you have unity. Which is why he emphasizes that there must only be one goal. God is my only goal. That's today's lesson. There can only be one goal. Because as soon as you have different goals, then you have fragmentation and separation, don't you? And conflict. Because I value this goal, you value this one. We see it differently, and now we conflict because we've given ourselves different meanings, purposes, goals, and that's the source of all human conflict. Different meanings. We decide different meanings, create different interpretations, create different perceptions. And then, because our perception clashes with someone else, we think, that we're right and they're wrong, and now seemingly conflict is justified. And it would be so simple to find unity. You just go, well, none of it means anything. My perception, their perception, none of it means anything. The only thing that's meaningful is what lies beyond these misperceptions. Then we have a common purpose and a common goal to let go of the dream and free ourselves in truth, which is why all the spiritual masters find they are able to perceive unity in the stream of separation, because they have let go of all false purposes and they perceive only the one purpose for everyone and everything. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Elaine, you okay with that? John?
Yeah, okay with that.
Yeah, that's good.
That should move on to number 7 then. Is the last paragraph, I believe. Yeah. So if you can do the honors, Elaine, just read in the original, and then the alternatives gives me a chance to edit as you read the original.
Do not interpret out of solitude, for what you see means nothing. I will not interpret out of solitude, for what I perceive means nothing. It will shift in what it stands for, and you will believe the world is as an uncertain place in which you walk in danger and uncertainty. It will shift in what it stands for, and I will believe in the world as an uncertain place which I walk in danger and uncertainty. It is but your interpretation which are lacking in stability, for they are not in line with what you really are. It is only my interpretations which lack in stability,
Or unstable, shall we say?
which are unstable, for they are not in line with what I really am. This is a state so seemingly unsafe that fear must rise. This is a state so seemingly unsafe that fear must arise. Do not continue thus, my brother. Do not continue thus, my companion. We have one interpreter.
So yes, she's talking about. So I will not continue in this way. So it's making a statement of intent then.
We have one interpreter, and though his use of symbols are rejoined so that they mean the same to all of us, and through its use of symbols are we joined so that they mean the same to all of us.
And we are joined. Yeah, we are joined.
Yeah.
Use of symbols, so it means the same to all of us. Okay.
Our common language let us speak to all our brothers, and to understand with them forgiveness has been given to us all, and thus we can communicate again. Our common language lets us speak to all our companions and understand with them that letting go has been given to us all, and thus we can communicate again.
And therefore, that understand with them that letting go has been given to us all, but we can all choose to let go, which is more accurate. You know, we still need to make a choice. All choose to let go. And so be able to communicate again. Okay, so read it from the top, an alternative.
I will not interpret out of solitude, for what I perceive means nothing. It will shift in what it stands for, and I will believe the world is an uncertain place in which I walk in danger and uncertainty. It is only my interpretations which are unstable, for they are not in line with what I really am. This is a state so seemingly unsafe that fear must arise. I will not continue in this way. We have one interpreter, and we are joined through its use of symbols so that they mean the same to all of us. Our common language lets us speak to all our companions and understand with them that we can all choose to let go and so be able to communicate again. Yeah. So it's saying that
Okay. So what you're saying there?
that when we interpret on our own, it means nothing because it'll just keep changing minute by minute. And then we believe the world to be uncertain and in a dangerous place. And our interpretations are unstable. And they're not really in line with who we are. So it's just full of uncertainties and fear. And so we want the same language for us, all companions and myself, so that we can choose to let go and then start communicating properly again.
Yeah. If everyone chose to let go of the world, there would be unity, wouldn't there? There would be nothing that could separate you. You just wouldn't value anything here that would seem to separate you from anyone. So all the world's, false purposes and goals and so on, just get let go of. Just what the Holy Spirit offers us. Brings us total freedom. Okay, yeah. So any more thoughts on number 7 or anything in this one? Do you want to read the summary?
It's taking me, the whole section is taking me back to when it's taking me back 10 years when we did our management buyout. We had the feeling in the business switched from being joined effort to a sense of Sue and I versus the guy who was buying the business. It
Mm.
introduced a tension that was competitive and
Mm.
and lopsided.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just making me wonder how it could have gone if we'd have come from that place of oneness.
Mm. Yeah, probably quite differently, but perhaps. But I guess that was, that was the lesson at the time.
It was, yeah.
And so you see that the lack of unity doesn't really work. It doesn't bring anyone any peace or happiness, and you learn accordingly. Maybe that's part of what puts you on this path. I think you 10 years ago you said you were already studying the course, but maybe you decided to go deeper into it because of that experience.
Yeah.
So it's all perfect in its imperfection, really. But you see, very clearly in the world that the separation doesn't work. Whenever there's separation, it never works. Any system, business or other system based on separation, it just cannot work. That's why, in my own South Africa, the idea that you can have separation now based on race, which was what apartheid was, but because it's in reverse, that's okay, is delusion. It's never going to work. It's the same thing. The principle of separation, or apartheid, just means separation in Afrikaans. That is the problem. It's not one race or group being favored over another. That's not the problem. The problem is the principle of separation is never going to work. But it takes quite an enlightened mind to see that. So someone like Mandela got that. He was like, okay, the principle of separation is never going to work to build a nation, so we have to unify, we have to reconcile. He understood that, and for a while united everyone in that understanding. People were like, oneness feels much better than separation. And then, of course, once he left, people of lower consciousness came in and they didn't understand that, and then they revert to separation and try and make that system work, which clearly didn't work. Apartheid was a disaster for South Africa. It didn't work, and yet the ego doesn't see that, and so continues on the same track, just in a different form. So the form changes, but the underlying content hasn't really changed. It's still the same script of separation. And until we learn, the truth that separation doesn't work, we just continue recreating the same over and over. Nothing really works. Okay, so shall we read the executive summary?
Yeah. Pure formless awareness of perfect love wouldn't leave the world's meaning to my interpretation, but then it would lack consistent meaning. The remembrance of perfect love perceives the world with a purpose that doesn't change with shifting situations. Every change I introduce alters my perception, showing that any meaning I assign is transient and dependent on my changing goals.
Okay, so what's he saying in that one?
So he's saying here that source is saying that if what's he saying? He's saying that we can only really connect through this understanding of oneness, because nothing will make any sense otherwise.
It doesn't change. You know, that it's a single thought system that does not change with shifting situations. Your perception is stable because it's not reliant on the external situation. You have one interpretation and one meaning that you give to all situations, which is that they are not real. So why are you valuing any of them when they're not real? So any meaning that I assign is temporary and dependent on my changing goals. And that's how our perception works, isn't it? I've got a goal. I want to achieve that. Then the mind gets you attached to the outcome. Once you have an expectation, you can suffer, can't you? Because the expectation can be violated. None of that is true. Just another illusion the ego is using to tempt you into its thought system. Okay, so Elaine, happy with that first paragraph of the summary?
Yeah.
You can read the next one, my interpretations and judgments.
My interpretations and judgments are simple scripts I create, influencing how I view success, disaster, gain, and loss. These scripts and their roles often change, showing that they have no inherent meaning. A steadfast purpose would give events a consistent meaning, but assigning differing meanings indicates multiple shifting purposes. Fearful interpretations only indicate my own fearful mindset, not the inherent nature of what I fear. So it's all our judgments are simply from the scripts that we create and make. And this is how it influences how we view the world through success, disaster, gain, loss. And these scripts that we make change. And so therefore they have no real meaning. So, yeah, we don't believe in any of it.
Yeah, so fearful interpretations only indicate my own fearful mindset. Or indicative only, or only indicative. My own fearful mindset. And not the inherent nature of what I fear. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Any other thoughts on that? It's all a dream. We've made up a script. We're dreaming a dream. We've written the script. But fortunately, the script is all false. Just like in a movie or theater, the script isn't real. It's not true. It's just a script. It's an act. It's a play. The actors playing it, don't really believe in it. So in the same way, we can just rise above it and detach and see that it's just a script being played out. And we can change the purpose and the meaning that we assign to it. That's what we have to do to awaken. Change the purpose and the meaning. It comes down to purpose. What purpose do you give everything? Okay, so then next one, a shared unchanging purpose. I think that's John, it's your turn. Okay, John, are you still there?
Sorry, I am here. Yeah, just left it on mute. A shared unchanging purpose stabilizes perception, allows for a singular interpretation of the world and my experiences. By embracing this shared purpose, I no longer judge hastily and see this single meaning everywhere, unaffected by circumstances.
Yes, what you're saying there.
So I was saying that when we come from this place of believing in of oneness, of shared purpose, we make good decisions which are independent of whatever's going on.
Yeah, a singular interpretation, which is what we crave for, really. It's like a certainty, stability. Okay, I know where I stand. I know how to perceive this. That's what the Holy Spirit offers us. The same interpretation of every event. Which equals a stable thought system. Whereas the ego, it's so variable. So many different situations and circumstances and events can occur that there's no stability at all in form. You'll never find a stable meaning there. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Lane, if you can read that.
When I perceive everything with one purpose shared with the world, I move beyond judgment. This unified view ends thoughts of sacrifice, which are based on the idea of differing goals. Differing symbols and interpretations disrupt true communication. The remembrance of perfect love provides symbols that resonate with both me and my companions, thus facilitating genuine connection. Seeing events as isolated fragments makes them meaningless. My limited awareness dreams, conceived in isolation, lack shared meaning, while dreams rooted in letting go can be universally understood. So if we just perceive everyone and everything with one purpose and we share this in the world, then we move beyond judgment. So it ends all the thoughts of sacrifice and our limited awareness and dreams of isolation. And if it's lacking in shared meaning, but if our dreams are rooted in letting go, can be universally understood. We're all one if we just communicate on the same language.
Yeah, and you can apply that to anything. To take your situation with your friend. Yeah, well, what she's showing you is the limitations of the ego's thought system, but the only correct interpretation, only meaning of all of it is that it can be let go. These delusions and illusions that she's believed in can be transcended, let go of, and underneath that is her true, shining nature, her eternal self, the Christ, which through this process is being revealed. That's the meaning of the whole situation. That's the only meaning that the Holy Spirit will help you to see. If you see that, you offer that perception to her as well. You see how it works. because she doesn't know this. She's inaccessible to the one-ment at the moment because her mind is too consumed with her illusions and all of the emotion around losing what she perceives as real. So you, as a miracle worker, have to show her this perception and demonstrate it to her, and then you offer her the truth. You offer her salvation through your own correct perception of it, which she can choose to accept or not.
I shall try.
It then has one consistent meaning, and you never vary from that. You never go, oh, shame, you poor thing, you suffering, and isn't it terrible? Because that's a misinterpretation. Actually, the only meaning that this has is that it's happening for her awakening. That's what it's all about. Actually happening for her. So it could be, the best thing that's ever happened to her in her entire life, but she just doesn't perceive it that way.
No, she doesn't.
She thinks it's the worst thing that's happened to her.
That's exactly what she said.
But maybe in time, she might go, well, I was so fast asleep and I really needed that to wake me up. And then the perception changes. So you can hold that, the correct perception for her and offer it to her. And then, it's an alternative. You're offering her a lifeline and a way out, and she can choose to accept it or not. You can't force her to accept your perception, but you can offer it to her and say, look, this is how you could perceive it. It's a lesson. It's actually all perfect in its imperfection. And this is what you're meant to go through to awaken you to who you really are. And it's a very good thing that's happening, because what are you going to, go through your whole life and not have any idea who you are? So this is Spirit's way of waking her up from her sleep. And it just doesn't seem that way to her because her egoic dream is deconstructing and she's attached to it. So then it feels very, very hurtful. But your perception can correct that for her, and you can remind her, of the singular perception, the singular meaning, and therefore the singular perception that the Holy Spirit offers, which if both of you accept, you would then be in alignment. There would be no disagreement. And she would very, very quickly get over, because that perception just would shift her out of the victim state and out of the mindset of I've lost something and oh poor me and so on. It would just shift her entirely out of that into actually I'm quite grateful, I'm quite empowered by this whole thing. So every time you see her, you can offer her that. That's your gift to her. Whether she accepts it or not is not your responsibility. It's up to her. But if you consistently offer it, maybe at some point she will, and it will at least give her the alternative. So there is a way out. You're holding an olive branch to her and saying there is a way out of this. I'm showing it to you, and you have the choice. You could accept it and find your way out of this depression, or not. Speaking of which, John, did you ever try what I suggested on your depressed friend, or not yet?
What was that, John? I remember the conversation, but I can't remember the specifics.
Yeah, I think I suggested that you show him the movie.
Yeah.
Which movie was it again?
It was one of the Star Wars things, I think.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, I didn't, John, because is not actually conversing with me at the moment. He's just kind of, he doesn't pick the phone up. He just kind of sends brief messages.
Yeah,
he acknowledges me, but he doesn't want to enter into time.
So that's interesting. You see how the isolation, the separation, and keep him in the depressed state because he's cutting himself off.
Yeah.
From others. That's how the ego works. Rather than joining and saying, "Well, we won." Cutting communication is always of the ego. Communication is a sign of unity. Is communication. Unity is in the word, isn't it? Okay, so done that paragraph. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions on it? It says, my limited dreams, conceived in isolation, lack shared meaning, while dreams of letting go can be universally understood. So his limited dream, which is very depressing, is his story, conceived in isolation. It lacks any shared meaning. You can't share that meaning, can you? No one can.
Yeah.
It's his own, private dream or nightmare. Our dreams of letting go can be universally understood. So if he accepted the only meaning of my depression is to learn to let it go, then you could understand with him, and you would be one in that thought system. You would be able to converse, or with a common purpose, just to let go. Okay, so last paragraph, John, if you want to read that. Well, second to last, there's a key message as well.
Interpreting alone. Interpreting alone makes the world seem unpredictable and dangerous. My shaky interpretations aren't aligned with my true self, inducing fear. However, with the remembrance of perfect love as our interpreter, we can understand shared symbols, communicate effectively, and recognize that the act of letting go unifies us all.
The act of letting go, the letting go unifies us all. Because the letting go leads to one shared purpose, one shared understanding, one shared meaning, one shared identity, and that unifies us. We become one in that single purpose, meaning, and identity. So it's very simple, isn't it? It's very straightforward what he's teaching us, but it's totally goes, against what we've learned. The thought system of separate purposes and meanings, and different interpretations and different goals goes completely against that, and completely undoes that. So that's why we struggle with it. Okay, so we're happy with the summary. Do you want to read the key message, Elaine, just to wrap it up?
I shouldn't rely on my fleeting interpretations of the world. A consistent shared purpose brings clarity and stability to perception. Through the remembrance of perfect love, I can communicate meaningfully with others, recognizing that letting go unites us all in true understanding.
True understanding and identity. Well, so what's he saying in that one? What's one saying?
Well, just so that we're all in the same boat, shared purpose and clarity. And if we remember perfect love and communicate meaningfully to each other, and recognizing that letting go is what brings us into oneness and our true understanding and identity.
Yeah. So this offers us, some stability and stability of perception that the ego can never offer. In that stable perception lies certainty, safety, security, peace, happiness, because we're not now at the mercy of the changing, shifting events and circumstances of this world. We have a way to perceive them all correctly and find peace no matter what. Okay, so and letting go is the answer. Letting go brings that single perception, single purpose, single perception. It's so simple, isn't it? And this would heal everyone if we all shared this one purpose of letting go, and we realize why we're really here on Earth. All conflict would disappear. We wouldn't have wars and all this conflict and drama that goes on in the human condition, because we'd realize that there's only one shared purpose, which is to let go of our false human self identity and find pure forms of perfect love within us. That's the one shared identity we have. Okay. Any other comments, questions, thoughts?
No, it's good.
Yeah, very
Nice
good. Yeah.
section. I'm guessing you don't want to do a meditation on this because it's quite late. So shall we just leave it there?
I think
Yeah.
so. It's been a good session.
It has,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
thanks for joining, John. Great to have you with us. So just looking ahead to tomorrow, shall we do? I've got some family commitments in the evening, so can we do an afternoon? Can we do an afternoon session?
I think that's okay with me.
I'll
Yeah,
join a little bit
12:30
later.
start.
Yeah, because I've got work. I've got a few massages tomorrow, so it'll be 2:00 before I can get there. 2:30, so I can get the
Okay.
tail end. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll probably finish at about 3:30 or 4. So
I'll
probably
get an hour,
3:30. So
yeah.
yeah, join us as soon as you can. And John,
Yeah.
if you join up front, you can switch it around, do the text first if you like. I don't mind doing that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you 12:30 then.
Yeah.
That's great. Right.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
All
Jono.
right.
Good night, Elaine.
Good night, everyone. Good night. See you
Night.
tomorrow. Namaste.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye. Namaste. All right. So that's a wrap for this evening session. Thank you to Elaine and John for joining. If you would like to join us in one of our live sessions, there's a link below which will allow you to register for a masterclass. Join us in one of the live Zoom calls. You can also subscribe to the channel if you like this, and get a Telegram message sent to you every day with the content I shared in the beginning of the session, the inspirational quote and workbook lesson for the day, and my commentary on it. I'll send that out free every day on Telegram. So yeah, go do your thing below, look at the links, and hope to catch you on the inside soon. Thanks so much for joining, and namaste, which means the single purpose, self that knows its one purpose. Purposeful self honors and acknowledges that same purposeful self in you.